Good morning, everybody. Sit back down. I'd like to welcome you all to the Taos County Board of County Commissioners regular commission meeting of Tuesday, August 15th, 2023. The time is 9:03, and we're ready to get started with our rather meaty agenda this morning. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Vice Chair Romero,
Present.
Commissioner Romero,
Present.
Commissioner Vihil,
Present.
Chair Brush,
Present.
Commissioner Mascarenhas.
Present.
Thank you. For agenda item 3, inspirational devotion, let's just take a moment and reflect on the fact that we finally got rain, and that's a beautiful thing that we should be grateful for. And here's hoping for even more soon. If everyone would please join me in standing, and Commissioner Mascarenhas is going to lead us in the pledge, and then I'll lead us in the salute to the state of New Mexico.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioner Mascarenhas. And now I salute the flag of the state of New Mexico, the Zia symbol of perfect friendship among united cultures. Thank you, everybody. This takes us to item 6 on our agenda, which is approval of the agenda. Commissioners, do you have any requests for changes, omissions, adds? Well, we can't add, but, or I would entertain a motion to approve it as presented.
Motion to approve as presented.
Thank you, Commissioner Mascarenhas.
Second.
Thank you, Vice Chair Romero. Madam Clerk, please call the vote.
Commissioner Romero,
Yes.
Commissioner Vihil,
Yes.
Commissioner Mascarenhas,
Yes.
Vice Chair Romero,
Yes.
Chair Brush.
Yes, thank you. Our agenda is approved for today. Agenda item 6, under awards and recognitions, we have a proclamation this morning recognizing National Fentanyl Prevention and Awareness Day, which is on Monday, August 21st, 2023. And I'm just going to go ahead and read the proclamation that all 5 of us have signed. And it reads, whereas the fentanyl epidemic in the United States is a serious public safety threat. For the first time in our nation's history, over 300,000 Americans have died of drug overdose and fentanyl poisoning in just a few years, for 2020 to present. And whereas illicit fentanyl is 100 times more potent than morphine and 50 times stronger than heroin, drug cartels make and supply illicit fentanyl either as a standalone substance or as an additive put into other street drugs such as heroin, cocaine, and methamphetamines. And whereas fentanyl has also been identified in counterfeit prescription pills, these fake pills are made to look identical to legitimate prescription pills such as OxyContin, Percocet, Vicodin, Adderall, and other medicines that have been found in every state in the country. And whereas drugs containing fentanyl are killing people every day, drug toxicity deaths are up and projected to increase in the years ahead. Children under 14 are dying of fentanyl poisoning faster than any other age group. And whereas fentanyl continues to be the #1 killer of adults 18 to 45 years old, fentanyl-related deaths occur approximately every 5 minutes. And whereas fentanyl is a growing crisis that poses a threat to public health and the well-being of our constituents and their families, therefore be it proclaimed by the Board of Commissioners of Taos County, New Mexico, that August 21st, 2023 shall be known, designated, and set as National Fentanyl Prevention and Awareness Day. Thank you, everybody. At this point, I'd like to move us on to agenda item 8, which is public comment. And friendly reminder, we can't respond, answer your questions, address your concerns because your concern wasn't posted on the agenda 72 hours ahead. And by state law, we can't talk about it unless we let everyone else know it's going to be talked about. So if we'll start with folks in the room, and I think we have a few folks who would like to speak. After people in the room have their 3 minutes to speak, we're going to open up the phone lines. So if you're watching online and you want to call in and take your 3 minutes to express what's on your mind, you're going to call, take note of this, 575-737-6310. That's 575-737-6310. So after we're done with folks in person, we'll open up the phone lines. So I know a few of you want to speak public comment. If whoever wants to stand up, Mr. Thilke, why don't you start us off? When you approach, please come, state your name, where you live, and tell us what's on your mind.
Neil, you're up.
Neil, you're up. Yeah, thank you. I thought you got it. You raised your hand first, so you get to go.
Good morning. Thank you. My wife and I do volunteer work at the Reeves Center at Shelby South Transfer Station. I've got photos of that place that was disastrous. The tires that were piled up, washing machines, and I guess what I want to get around to is, for the last couple of times that we've been there, I want to commemorate, or I want to appreciate Edward and the Solid Waste Department and whatever changes have happened to clean that place up. And I don't know about the other transfer stations, but the one in Shelby Solid is good condition. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Thilke. Who would like to speak next? Mr. Norden, come on up.
Good morning. My name is David Norden. I live in El Paso, New Mexico. Thank you very much for listening. I appreciate it. I am the CEO of Taos Valley, and we are here from the community frequently, and we agree that we would like to become a better partner and community member, really a good neighbor, an organization that collaborates, and we try to be more present in the community. And we'll start with this open forum. And going forward, I think we'll bring more comments just to share with you what's going on. I think communicating and informing the community with what is happening in Ski Valley is important. And again, for us collaborating is important. A couple of quick points just recently that have come up for us. One is we've heard frequently that we don't give back to the community. And I just want to share with you all that in 2023, we contributed $450,000 in charitable donations and contributions and volunteer time and in-kind giving. We believe that giving back to the community is important. We always look for ways that we can do that, and we open our organization to recommendations on how we can do better on that front. We've also heard recently that the youth of the community aren't provided opportunities to ski at the Ski Valley. And again, last winter we had over 1,300 children ski under programs, many of them were free special programs. 49% of those children are Hispanic and Latino backgrounds, and allows us to see great diversity in the mix of people that ski the Ski Valley. Just a couple of days ago on Saturday, we had a community day. And this was the first ever summer community day. We had almost 600 people. We had free lift rides, we had free hot dogs, we had a cornhole tournament, face painting. The local cheer squad from the high school cheered right in the plaza. It was a really great day. And our second annual winter event will be December 9th and December 10th this year. Free skiing, free skating, free sledding for anybody in the community. We look forward to having as many people join as possible. Our interest is in collaboration. I know you've seen Mona from our organization here frequently. She's our new community relations manager. We want to take this to heart. We really want to do what we can. If you see a need or an opportunity or have a recommendation for us, please reach out. We are available. We would love to meet anybody at a time and location that is convenient for you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Anybody else in the room who would like to make a public comment? Good morning, Counselor. Good morning, Cordelia.
Today I'm coming with my Taos Community Market. With my Taos Community Market, ooh, it's really loud, hat on. Alongside Guadalupe Morgas, I am the coordinator for the Taos Community Market, which started in 2020 on the onset of COVID. And so as you all are very aware, we are a regional food desert. As we look towards Cuesta and the shutting down of their grocery store, the question of access to fresh food is critical. And so today on the agenda, I saw that our neighbors in Peñasco have done the long, hard work to create something from scratch, which is not easy. It is barely our third year, and we're still undergoing foundational changes, reaction to whether or not we get a grant or not. Our first year, we were mere volunteers. Fortunately, with the Lore Foundation and the Tufts Community Foundation, we have been able to supplement a lot of the costs associated to creating a space, an accessible, affordable place for new vendors. And so when we talk about food sustainability, it's about how do we have access for farmers, ranchers, and growers who in this climate can't afford rent, can't afford water, and nobody wants to buy $10 pound papas. And so the exchange of which the cost of value is super subsidized on a national level, but when you look down to local growers, the cost of their investment, operations, and plus selling on a Friday or Saturday or Sunday is crucial. And so we have the opportunity to reinvest in our volunteers throughout our county who commit their time and energy and love to hosting and inviting new growers. Oftentimes we talk about young people being disinterested and ambivalent. In my experience, that hasn't been true. For instance, this year, the Talpa Community Market has 6 new youth vendors who are allowed to vend there for free. And so we've seen them earn their own money, learn to grow their own basil. They're welders, they're artists, and they are surrounded by elders who have been doing this type of work for time immemorial. And so I'm just really excited that Peñasco is willing to do all the paperwork and jump through all the hoops. And I ask for, as a fellow coordinator of a market, knowing what they're facing, that they need all the support they can get, because at this point in time, Vadito, Chamizal, the Peña area, they have Dollar General. So when we wake up, we get to go to Smith's, Albertsons, and if you can't find it there, maybe you can ask on Facebook and find what you need. But the reality in Peñasco is it's a long road from 518 to town limits. And so I would just point out that oftentimes vendors need a place like a community market because brick and mortar costs are so out of reach for most growers and ranchers. And that's why I hope we still continue investing in co-ops that help food, natural foods that are grown here and products be maximized and strengthened. I'd like to point that the economic impact goes without notice because just last year we were able to, through vendor fees alone, contribute, my time up? $2,000. And then also this year we're aimed to earn $40,000 in our market. So when we look at economic opportunity, this is the type of investment we need to be making on behalf of growers and markets. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Anybody else in the room? Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you. My name is Satripa Kegel, and I'm very pleased I can talk to you for 3 minutes. And I'm actually here representing a lot of people who couldn't join today. As you well know, we're all overwhelmed. And you are aware that the Taos Airport has been an issue for decades. We need to figure out at this point what we do as a community, okay? The original and very active people are aging out and actually dying. What started as a small private airport is now regional, and it is now surrounded probably by hundreds of homes. It is District 1, and the families and the homes are in danger. And this danger was listed out very carefully in the lawsuit years ago, 2012, which went up to the Supreme Court. There is so much information, and we know that the county commissioners are busy. We have great respect for whatever you're doing, and we need you, and we are asking, is this not your responsibility to help your constituents? Is it not your duty? So we need to find a way that you can engage and that you can bring this process. It shouldn't go on multi-generation struggle to maintain the rights of the citizens over the rights of tourists and big business. So we really can't do it without you. I'm not sure if you've considered that, But I have, and my best idea, which I've discussed with many people, since it's so late in the planning process for the airport, we think the most effective way is for you to call a countywide meeting. That would be a truly forthright educational forum, not something that's one-sided where you only get presented the things that the town wants to say or the engineers want to say, but really answering the questions that we've been asking now for a year and a half with the Airport Advisory Board and not getting any answers. So basically, the master plan should not go forward. It shouldn't be finalized and submitted. Until just recently, I found out by the constant educational work I'm doing that there is an airfield document, a directory, in which all manner of protections could be added. But the town has left it empty all these years. There's nothing in there. So that's the kind of very clearly laser-focused educational forum we could do that would bring you the information you need to bring the town and to bring your leverage and your care and your concern for the welfare of your constituents. So we do hope that you will move on that in the best way possible. And if I can be of any service in guiding that process, please let me know. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. I had some lengthy comments prepared and realized that it would just be 3 minutes, so I'll try to put it into the clip notes.
Could you just?
My name
Yeah.
is Craig Stamps. I moved here and retired here 3 years ago. I live on the Quail Ridge condos. And this as it relates to the Songwriter Homes proposed project. Is this the right time for comments or no?
No, if you wouldn't mind waiting until that moment on the agenda, then we'll open up the public hearing about that item and you can. Yeah,
Oh,
this is our wide open general public comments. So, but that isn't a specific agenda item. You're welcome to make your comments at that point. You just need a little bit of patience till we get there. Thank you. Is there anybody else in the room who would like to use their 3 minutes to make a comment on something other than our appeal that's coming? Okay. We'll go ahead and open the phone lines. I'll take it off of Do Not Disturb. Again, if you're watching online, that number to call to make a comment is 575-737-6310. 575-637-6310. So we'll just give it a minute and see if there's anyone. Yeah, and these are general public comments, not for the public hearing that is later on our agenda item. What's our item number? Item 11B. So if you're here for that public hearing, this is not the time for comments. Anything else? Talk to us. 575-737-6310. Okay. Okay, we do have one phone call. Good morning. Are you calling in for public comment?
Yes, I am.
Okay, if you could please state your name and where you live for the record.
Yes, so my name is Alexia and I live in Taos. I am calling because of the airport expansion, very similar to what Satrupa was talking about earlier.
Okay, please continue.
All right, so I'm calling because especially when it comes to the airport, it feels that there has not been a lot of education on the topic. It feels that as the county, you need to know that you do have leverage with the town and that you do have a responsibility to your constituents, especially when it comes to educating the community on the airport. Now, there are several different safety issues that we need to address, such as particulates, the ultrafine particulates, leaded fuel, other different safety issues that come from having the even the flight pattern going right instead of left. I was in a meeting not too long ago for the airport expansion where we were talking about the essentially needing to have, I apologize, I'm looking for the word. There was a pilot who had mentioned that if we are able to essentially have some kind of written procedure that we're able to implement for pilots to avoid flying over residential areas, that is something that we need to discuss as a community, and we need to have proper documentation. There's just several different issues pertaining to the airport expansion that I feel that the community is not aware about, and that's why I'm calling in today.
Okay, thank you very much for your comments. Appreciate it. And yeah, thank you. I'm going to hang up now and see if, thank you. And if there's anyone else who would like to call in one more time, that number is 575-737-6310 for comment on things other than the public comment. The hearing. 6310 for comment on things other than the public. Good to know we have a delay. Okay. Good morning. You are live online for a public comment. I feel like DJ.
Hello.
Yeah, hello. You're ready to go? You have calling in for public comment?
Yes, I have one question. I'm calling about something that is listed on the agenda. Do I need to wait for that item? It has to do with the farmers market and the Penasco Valley Historical Preservation Society.
No, you don't. Do you need to wait for that? That is a public hearing. Okay, yes, if you could call back during that time when we reach that public hearing, that would be the time to make your comment.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, anybody else out there who would like to talk about something that is not listed as a public hearing on the agenda? 575-737-6310. Going once. Okay, then I think I'll move us along. Thank you everyone who gave comments this morning on a variety of topics. Really appreciate you all. We're back on Do Not Disturb for now. And this takes us to item 9 on our agenda, which is minutes. We have a good handful of minutes to approve. Thank you. First, 9A is approval of the July 5th, 2023 regular meeting minutes.
Madam Chair, motion to approve.
Thank you, Vice Chair Romero. I will go ahead and second that. Madam Clerk, please call for the vote to approve our July 5th meeting minutes.
Commissioner Romero?
Yes.
Commissioner Vehil?
Yes.
Commissioner Mascareñas?
Yes.
Vice Chair Romero?
Yes.
Chair Brush?
Yes, thank you. 9B, approval of the July 18th, 2023 regular meeting minutes. I'll go ahead and make the motion to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, please call the vote.
Commissioner Romero?
Yes.
Commissioner Vehil?
Yes.
Commissioner Mascareñas?
Yes.
Vice Chair Romero?
Yes.
Chair Brush?
Yes. And one more for July. It was a busy month. Approval of the July 27th, 2023 special meeting minutes.
Move to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner Vehil. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Mascareñas. Madam Clerk, please call for the vote.
Commissioner Romero?
Abstain.
Commissioner Vehil?
Yes.
Commissioner Mascareñas?
Yes.
Vice Chair Romero?
Yes.
Chair Brush?
Yes. And one last one, 9D, approval of the August 1st, 2023 regular meeting minutes.
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Miguel. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Vice Chair Romero. Please call for the vote, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Romero?
Yes.
Commissioner Vehil?
Yes.
Commissioner Mascareñas?
Yes.
Vice Chair Romero?
Yes.
Chair Brush?
Yes. Thank you very much. All right, all of our minutes are approved as presented. Agenda item 10, new business. And 10A is discussion, consideration, and decision regarding the Penasco Valley Historical Preservation Society request for authorization for a farmer's market.
Good morning, Madam Chair. Good morning, Commissioners. Yes, this is a discussion, consideration, and decision that the Commission has to make to approve a proposed Penasco Valley Historic Preservation Society Farmers Market. Staff has been working with Mr. Jose Lopez on this proposal, and he does have a PowerPoint to show you to let the commissioners know how this will beneficially impact the Penasco area by promoting agriculture and economic development. And also, Madam Chair, Commissioners, I did hand out a couple of items for you to review. The first one was an aerial photo to give you an exact location of the subject property where Mr. Lopez and the Historic Society are going to be holding the farmers market. And then also the second item I handed out to you in relation to this is a letter from the Penasco Fire Department regarding the existing old school building on the property. So Madam Chair, Commissioners, once Mr. Lopez makes his presentation to you, I will come up again and make some recommendations on this proposal.
Thank you, Rudy.
Okay, so I turn it over now to Mr. Lopez to make his presentation.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good morning, Mr. Lopez.
Morning. I don't know if my presentation will be displayed or, okay.
I think so. Just give us a second. We'll get it up there. Yeah. It'll be up there and also in front of us here. So
Perfect. All right.
thanks for your patience.
I can do my introductions. Good morning, everyone. My name is Jose Lopez. I live in Chamizal. I'm the executive director for the Penasco Valley Historic Preservation Society, or PVHPS. And I'm also the market manager for the Penasco Valley Farmers Market. Just a little bit of information about PVHPS. We are a 501c3 dedicated to community enrichment. Our primary goal is to restore and preserve the St. Anthony Parochial School building located in Penasco to be used as a flexible community use space. St. Anthony's was built and founded in the 1930s and was the first public school in the area. PVHPS currently owns the property, and we recently received state and national historic designation for the property. It has approximately 3 acres with only the one structure on it, and it, sits surrounded by the communities of Rolarte, the Llanos, Varito, Rockwall, Rio Lucio, Picuris, Chamizal, Ojito, Trampas, Ojosarco, El Valle, Truchas, and I'm sure I'm forgetting a few. But all this to say, it's ample outdoor space, and its central location makes it an ideal location for a farmer's market. I will say we're currently operating at Picuris Pueblo. They've graciously granted us a space to start our farmer's market, and we are operating there on Sundays, but we would like to move to St. Anthony's for a variety of reasons, partly due to its central location. There's a lot of tourists who go through there, and not a lot of them necessarily go down to the travel center unless they need something. And also we've got a lot of equipment that we set up every weekend, and it's a lot of extra work to have to haul it down to the Pueblo and then set it up and then bring it back at the end of the day. So I've been really blessed to have a lot of good help with that, but it's a lot of work. So our goal for the Penasco Valley Farmers Market is to create an accessible market space that uplifts small businesses and empowers families to buy locally grown and made goods, and it can also serve as a meeting space for the community. So the market will run Sundays from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. There's a $10 vendor fee, and that fee will be waived for anybody selling primarily produce, and it really goes towards servicing our porta potties and really that. I mean, if any upkeep charges come up, that's really what it's for. So on the next slide is the benefits. Oh, and I'll say additionally that the vendors have to sign a vendor agreement that makes sure that they have all their necessary permits and they're following all the guidelines to be able to sell whatever goods that they have. So I'll talk a little bit about the benefits of a farmer's market. As I've said, and kind of the most obvious one is it provides fresh, healthy, and locally grown or made foods for the families of Penasco. Penasco is a food desert. We've got the Family Dollar, White's, and Garcia's, and produce at all 3 of those stores is extremely limited. So most people have to drive to either Taos or Española to get any sort of produce. And that's, at least a 30-minute trip in. So that's really the issue that we're trying to address here, because there's a lot of local people, who grow things, who make value-added goods, or are really good at, just cooking. So there's a problem, and it seems to me kind of an obvious solution. In addition, we are planning to eventually accept WIC and SNAP EBT payments, as well as set up the Double Up Food Bucks program to make our market accessible and affordable to any economically disadvantaged families. Next, the market offers a venue for small businesses and farmers to sell and get experience with farmers markets. My vision for this market is really to have it be sort of a stepping stone for small farmers and small businesses. They can come with a pretty low barrier of entry and sell and get experience and kind of figure out what sells good and what doesn't, what works for them, and then eventually go out and vend at bigger markets like Taos or Santa Fe, or maybe come to Talpa. So that's my vision. We've also done other things to work towards that, like providing equipment. We've purchased 10 canopies, 10 tables, 50 chairs, and vendors are free to use those on a first come, first served basis for no charge. So the idea behind that is anybody who can't afford that equipment right now can come and not be out in the hot sun all day. And lastly, we're trying to sort of build a network. So anybody who is just starting out, any new farmers, or anybody who's really trying to get a business off the ground, we're trying to connect them with the resources that they need to get set up properly. So if a farmer doesn't have a tax ID and isn't sure how to approach that, we've got resources with a community organization, Más Comunidad, to help them with that, or just hooking them up with another farmer who has gone through it before. So we're really trying to make it so like I said, there's a low barrier of entry, and anybody who wants to can come. And the last benefit, I mean, there's many, but is community engagement. And I think this is actually a really important one. The market offers a venue for people to gather and meet and talk. And since COVID happened, there haven't been a lot of big community events, at least not something reoccurring like this. And even the fiestas, the last time we had the fiestas was in 2019. And I think it's had a noticeable effect. And I think one thing that we really want to do by having this standing event is, increase community engagement and people talking, neighbors talking, and getting to know each other. And we've seen that happen already in a couple ways. At Picuris, we've been having a meeting the last two markets with different community organizations and interested parties who all are interested in organizing a community cleanup. And so we've got the ball rolling on that for October, as well as a neighborhood watch program kind of involved with all of the different surrounding communities. So, that meeting has really been made possible by the market, and it's, a free gathering space. And just having the meeting there, people kind of walk by and see like, oh, what are you guys doing? And it's a really natural way to draw people in. And the last point with community engagement that I want to make is we're going to do youth education opportunities. One way that we've already kind of started doing it is we're working with a coach from the Learners Chess Academy. He comes down every Sunday and sets up his chess boards, and just whoever wants to come play can play. It was really, really awesome to see one of the markets. We had a boy come and he played chess for 3 hours with him, and that was just really beautiful to see. So stuff like that. We also want to do like adobe making workshops and chico roasting and remedio workshops, that sort of thing in the future. So I think it could be a space for all of that. So this is our site plan. You can see the main building right there, and this is the front portion of the property that borders the highway. We've got space there for 15 vendors, 44 parking spaces, and that doesn't include vendor parking. There's a area for music and picnic tables. So this is just utilizing the space in the front, and we've already had somebody come and clear that whole front area, so there's not any, dangerous holes or any weeds, sticking up that anybody can trip on or anything like that. So it's set up for this capacity, and as we grow, we have the potential to move into the back, which is an additional, probably 1.5 acres for parking or whatever. So there's a lot of potential for growth. Let's see, on the next slide. Oh, and I'll say that we do have a porta potty that we've purchased for that property, and it's already on site. So there's been some concerns about the property safety, specifically the old building. It is an old building. I will say it's not at risk of, falling down or anything like that. It's been secured over the years. But, we don't want anything happening. So what we've done is we've put up a fence around the building. You can sort of see the clearance. There's about maybe 10 feet there, 5 to 10 feet of clearance from the building, and that fence goes all the way around. So it restricts access to the building from anybody. So that's the front there. And then on the next slide is the back of the building. And then in addition, we've put up caution tape along the highway so that, people know not to go towards the highway, and it restricts that a little bit. We are working on putting a permanent fence there between the property and the highway. I think the next slide is community support. We've received a lot of community support on this project from different organizations and individuals. Certain organizations that have come out and explicitly given us their support are Mas Comunidad, Hogs and Heifers, Kit Carson, Picuris Pueblo. I'll say that I've talked to multiple teachers at Peñasco schools, and they have expressed interest in setting up a program where students can farm and then they can come and vend at our market as youth vendors and learn from the vendors who are a little bit more established there. That's something that I'm really excited about. And we've also talked to Picuris about doing something similar with them. Lots of support from individuals, I'll say, both at the markets. It was really just beautiful to see how many people were out and happy to be there and just have been wanting it for a long time. Because there has been discussion about a farmer's market for a long time from different organizations. I can think of 4 off the top of my head who have wanted something like this and maybe made attempts in the past, but it hasn't happened for whatever reason. I think Paca has, and White's store has, and the theater has. So there's definitely a desire for a farmer's market within the community. And I want to also say Will Jeremko Wright has supported us. He is the agricultural and 4-H extension agent and the director of Taos County Cooperation Extension Service. So there's a lot of support for it, and a lot of people have seen what we've been doing and are really want to see it continue. So now I'll talk a little bit about what has been done thus far to obtain the event permit. I started working with the planning department back in May, and they requested me submit a variety of documents that are listed up here. Some of them include a business plan. So I wrote a business plan. I have it here if anybody's interested in seeing it. I got a letter from the fire department. Thank you to Ryan Desad, our fire chief, as well as got our layout plan signed by the fire department. I got our vendor agreement in. And so I submitted those materials, I believe in June, and we were hoping to start by July. And then I was requested to board the windows of the building, and then the other was to obtain an access permit from the property. So with regards to boarding the windows, like I said, our purpose is to restore the building. And so that doing that would really run counter to what our primary goal is. And I think through the installation of a safety fence, it kind of makes it a little bit unnecessary. Access is currently restricted to the building. So that's what we've done on that front. And then I will say, I'm currently working to obtain an access permit with the Department of Transportation. It's a really lengthy application. And yeah, it has a checklist of about, 10 to 15 different things. Some of them include environmental, cultural resources clearance and site grading drainage plan. So I'm working on it. It's just going to take time. And I mean, one of my questions really is where the necessity for an access permit comes from. And because like I said, it is an established property, but really, my goal is to get the market set up at the St. Anthony property as soon as possible because of the benefits of it and because of the momentum that we can maintain if we can move there. So that's all I have. Thank you for you guys' time. Thank you for hearing me out. I've got our board member, Esteban Lopez. I believe he wanted to make a comment. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lopez. And if you want to stick around in case we have questions for you,
Sure.
just want to say before we move on to the board comments that really appreciate you doing so much to make this opportunity as accessible as possible to vendors, and the youth outreach is a beautiful thing. So thank you for the focus on those things. Good morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the commission. I appreciate your allowing us to present here. Thank you for Jose's presentation. I think I just want to speak on behalf of the board that I am the secretary of the PVH, Penasco Valley Historic Preservation Society, and our other board members were not able to come, but we are in full support of the work that Jose is doing. He's doing a wonderful job, and we want to encourage your favorable resolution of this issue. And it goes without saying, our primary objective is to support and restore the school. We're going to be back to talk to you about supporting that effort as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Commissioners, do we have questions?
Comment?
Yes, sure,
So
Commissioner
I
Vehil.
also would like to thank you. I think this is great. I've seen farmers market, how well, it's attended and what it provides for the community. The Talpa Community One market is also an excellent one. Love to go over there, that networking, and just sitting or just chatting really makes a difference, makes for a good day. So thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you.
In Penasco.
Thank you, Commissioner Vehil. Any other comments or questions? Okay. We had somebody on the phone who wanted to comment about this. Can we go ahead and take that call now? It doesn't list this as a public hearing on our agenda. But, okay. Thank you. Appreciate that, Patrick. So for the individual who wanted to make a comment, sounds like that's you right here. Good morning.
Hello, my name is Rebecca Gonzalez Mitchell. I am the board chair for Mas Comunidad in Penasco. And I wanted to address the commissioners to let you all know that Mas Comunidad fully supports the Penasco Farmers Market run by the Penasco Valley Historical Preservation Society. And our organization is asking for your consideration in granting the necessary permitting for it to be held on the grounds of the historic St. Anthony School building, which is centrally located in Penasco. Your approving of the permitting demonstrates your support for our local farmers and small business owners, as well as your understanding of the need for gathering places for our community. When the societies initially shared their idea for holding a farmers market on their grounds, there was enthusiastic support from multiple community organizations, including Mas Comunidad. While this is the first year of their farmers market, a market for local farmers has been a long-time vision of Mas and many other organizations and individuals from our community for several years. So far, it's run for 6 weeks at the Pickery travel center and has been well attended. I understand the patronage has reached up to 100 people. The market offers a meaningful space for the people to gather. The justification for holding the farmers market on the St. Anthony's ground is one, much greater ease of setup and takedown for the farmers market. As Mr. Lopez mentioned, they have much equipment that's stored at the property that they're currently transporting to Hickory, 10 canopies, 4 picnic tables, 5 or 10 tables, 20 chairs, a generator, an amp for music, and a handful of different I'm sorry. It sounded like my phone had gone out. A handful of different youth-friendly games. And as he also said, the vendors rely on the farmers market to provide them with equipment for the individual stands. The second justification for holding it on the property is that it's centrally located within the heart of Peñasco for better access for the farmers, the small business owners, the vendors, and the patrons. The increased patronage that would result of having it at the St. Anthony's location, there's greater potential for attendance there. And lastly, that it offers a community gathering space for the health of the community. Mas Comunidad's nonprofit work is focused on community health, wellness, and wholeness, and we feel like the society's farmers market aligns with the mission, our mission, to create, sustain, and support services that respect local culture and improve lives of people in Peñasco and its surrounding villages. The Peñasco's farmers market is accomplishing these things, as well as allowing our community members to experience connection, culture, and community. The farmers market has the heartfelt support of Mas Comunidad. We encourage the commissioners of Taos County to grant the local permitting for the grounds of St. Anthony's School site to hold the farmers market. We know that the farmers market plays an integral role in our mission to support the health and wellness of our community. As sincerely, myself, Rebecca Gonzalez Mitchell, board chair, and Mr. Miguel Angel Ortiz, Mas Comunidad director. And thank you, commissioners, for taking the time to listen to my comment.
Thank you very much, Rebecca. Appreciate your comments. Okay, commissioners, any comments, questions for Mr. Lopez? Okay, then this is a decision item, right? Yes, Mr. Trujillo.
I just wanted to point a couple things out with regard to this request. First of all, this is very unique, and to my knowledge, even though I haven't been around that long, I check with Rudy and to his knowledge, and he's much older and has been around a lot longer. He doesn't recall this ever coming up where a farmer's market has asked to be blessed, in essence, by the commission. And the reason I say blessed is because this isn't a permit. This is a very funky situation in that farmers markets are exempted from the permitting requirements of the ordinance. But what it says under exemptions, and I'll read specifically, this is from section 4.8.14, paragraph J4. It's a mouthful, but what it says is, and that's under exemptions. It says the farmer's market in a so one of them is a farmer's market in a location authorized by the Board of County Commissioners is exempt. So in essence, what they're here for is for you to approve the location of this farmer's market. And if you do it, then they're exempt from the permitting requirements. Now, without dragging this out too much further, the only other provision in the zoning code, in the LURs, that refers to farmer's market is the definition of farmer's market. And the definition of a farmer's market is something, and I just checked with the gentleman here, it's primarily for the sale of fruits and vegetables that are grown in the area. And that's what's going on here. It does also allow for some ancillary activities, but we shouldn't focus on those. The whole reason it's exempted is because of the sale of fruits and vegetables grown in the area. Okay, so having said that, what's before the commission right now is approving the location of a farmer's market on this site. Now, you'll note that Rudy and the planning department couldn't help themselves. They also wanted these other requirements or some other issues to be involved, but they didn't do that just to be spiteful or anything. They did because other agencies are going to want to see those. One of those agencies is State DOT, who's going to want to have an access permit because this site, the use has been changed from a church, and then it was vacant, and then now it's a farmer's market. So they're going to require that. So all we're trying to do by telling them these things is to keep them out of trouble, not just with us, but out of other agencies. But having said that, they can proceed at their own risk with regard to that access permit. So I don't want that to get in the way of you all approving or disapproving this location. Like I said, you need to deal with the state with regard to that, but that doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to block our approval of this location based on that. So I just wanted to educate you with regard to what you're approving today. So if someone on the commission is inclined to approve this, I think the motion would be something like, I hereby move that the location set out in exhibit or in, where are we on the agenda?
10A.
On 10A, that the location described is hereby approved for a farmer's market. That would be basically the motion. And then that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Mr. Trujillo. That's very helpful. Appreciate it.
Just a quick question in regards to liability that does not, if we were to bless this, support it, whatever, it's not saying that there's liability on the county in regards to?
No, I mean, as far as I know, there's never any liability for the county in approving a permit. There's no exception under the Tort Claims Act to sue us under that. It's not a civil rights claim. It's not any of those things. And having said that, we are complying with the ordinance. It's not like we're not complying with the ordinance.
Right, okay, makes sense. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Vihel. Any further questions, commissioners?
Yeah, Madam Chair,
Vice Chair Romero.
is the ownership of the location relevant? Is it private, public? Who owns it?
The only thing that's relevant is whether or not this gentleman has the permission of the owner to bring the request. That's relevant. Other than that, there's nothing in there that talks about it being, for instance, a 501c3. I'll read you the definition of farmer's market if you'd like. That might be educational. It says covered or outdoor markets for the seasonal retail sale of flowers, fruits, vegetables, herbs, seedlings, dairy, meat, honey, jam, etc., that are produced and sold on-site or within the same neighborhood or within Taos County, sponsored by a cooperative or common venture with similar local growers. The sale shall be by farmers or their employees who have produced the food or flowers. The sale of other other types of merchandise, including processed and packaged foods and food, nursery plants, landscape fruits and flowers. So it does allow for those ancillary things. So, but it doesn't talk about, it says cooperative or common venture. I don't know what that means. It's not defined. So I think we're okay with that.
Thank you for the question, and thank you for the answer once again, Patrick. Appreciate it.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve the location as presented to us for the Penasco Valley Farmers Market.
Thank you, Commissioner Mascareñas, and thank you, Commissioner Miguel, for your second of that. Madam Clerk, please call for the vote to approve the location as presented for the Penasco Valley Historical Preservation Society request to operate a farmer's market.
Commissioner Romero?
Yes.
Commissioner Vihel?
Yes.
Commissioner Mascareñas?
Yes.
Vice Chair Romero?
Yes.
Chair Brush?
Yes, congratulations. You're approved to operate your farmer's market in that location.
Awesome. Thank you,
And Chair, I
Commissioners.
like the blessing. You have our blessing.
Can't
Thank you
wait to
very
come up
much.
and buy some delicious things.
Please do. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lopez. Good luck with the project. It's exciting. Okay, this takes us on to item 10B, and I see we have our sheriff with us this morning. Good morning, sir. Good to see you, Sheriff Miata. And we are excited to hear from you this morning, an update on the progress of the emergency animal shelter that you have stepped up to organize.
Madam Chair, good morning. Commissioners, good morning. I'd like to give you guys a little bit of background, and so it gives you a little bit of insight as to what brings us here today. Working closely with County Commissioner Jaramillo, in the last several months, we have had issues with stray hearts. During the RFP process and during the negotiations, I was contacted by several members or board members and former employees of this organization that brought to light legal, moral, and ethical issues within that organization. As such, along with the presentation of physical evidence, I chose to compile a case file and forward it to the Attorney General's office. The reason I didn't conduct an investigation myself is due to the fact that our business dealings, our transaction, our contract with Stray Hearts was due for review, and we chose to terminate that contract based on these findings. As a representative of you, the people of Taos, and Taos government, I refuse to have any business dealings or associations until the time comes that Stray Hearts can find itself back in the good graces of legal, moral, ethical, transparent, and accountable management. So that fast forwards us to today. As such, this gave me the opportunity to realign and redefine the mission statement of our animal control. We now, I've relabeled our animal control unit to animal welfare. Furthermore, our animal control deputies or our animal welfare deputies are now, two of which are at the academy, will be certified deputies, so that they can specialize in the investigations of animal cruelty and all animal-related issues within our county. And it provides a little bit better, more professional service. And it doesn't take away from the investigation time, the patrol times of our patrol deputies. Continuing forward, the monies that we saved from not entering into a contract with Stray Hearts this year, we've reallocated, and working again with County Manager Jaramillo, we are in the procurement process of acquiring the PAWS spay and neuter van. And how this relates to the realignment of our animal control mission statement is that gives us the ability to become proactive in our communities and go after the spay and neuter aspect of it versus picking up strays and dealing with the animal control issues that arise with overpopulation of stray animals within our communities. Acquiring the spay and neuter van also gives us the ability to conduct these spay and neuter clinics in outlying communities such as Cuesta, Costilla, Malia, Vadito, the Peñasco Valley, and get out there and touch these communities that typically, because of the location, because of the need to efficiently and effectively run these spay and neuter vans historically, we've had them centralized here in Taos. Well, now if we can conduct a biweekly spay and neuter clinic, we can reach out to these communities and get it out there. With regards to the temporary shelter, I want to stress. This is an emergency shelter with a cap of anywhere from 10 to 15, and I'm leaning more towards 10 because I don't want to overextend ourselves on the intake of animals there. And the reason, or the animals, the way they'll be vetted as to how we take them in, they'll be on emergency cases like extreme animal abuse cases, or cases where an individual passes away and has pets that are in the home, and until family members can show up to pick them up, then we'll take them in and we can care for them on that point there. But I just want to stress the fact that it is an emergency shelter, not a permanent or ongoing operation. Any questions?
Thank you, Sheriff Miata. I appreciate that a lot. And I think we probably do have questions. I'll just start with one based on what you just said, that this is not intended to be an ongoing operation. So it's a two-part question. One, do we already have animals in the emergency shelter? And two, do we have a plan? Because the Stray Hearts side of the equation is out of our control, right? So do we have a plan for something ongoing?
So currently, no, we don't have any. We're still in the process of constructing a viable shelter that covers all the aspects of having an animal shelter. We have the facility. Again, Commissioner Jaramillo, County Manager Jaramillo is working with me at the Old Armory. We're getting that cleaned out, getting it set up. We've chosen that site because of the structure itself, the cement floors, the brick walls are easy to sanitize, clean. It's just a matter of hosing them out. It's a heated and a heated facility. So that way, if this extends through the year, we have a safe place for these animals. Furthermore, as far as the contract with Stray Hearts, it's not my intent to deconstruct or dissolve Stray Hearts altogether. Stray Hearts is an integral part of the Taos community. The issues that I have with Stray Hearts is with its management. And I want to see a day come again where we can involve ourselves again with business in a contract with Stray Hearts. But I'm not going to allow that as far as the sheriff's office goes. And as a representative of the commission and people of Taos County, until that time comes that they are back in the good graces of integral, transparent, and accountable management.
Thank you, Sheriff. Further questions? Commissioner Vehil.
So, yes, good to see you. So currently, right now, you're not holding any animals there because you're, if I understand you correctly, preparing
Yes.
the place. How many, when it's completed, how many can we handle in emergency mode?
I truly want to cap it at 10.
Okay, and capacity as far as who's going to be caring for the animals, because obviously someone needs to care for them.
That is actually the most interesting part of this aspect or this issue is that the outpouring of volunteers and the groups within Taos Animal Control, the animal groups within Taos that have just come forward to provide services, volunteers, donations, the people of Taos County that have already started donating food, kennels, blankets, that are willing to donate time to come out and, even try to train animals or care for these animals on a day-to-day basis. It leaves me speechless, but the outpouring is huge. So the impact, the financial impact to the Taos County government is not going to be extensive.
So if I may continue, so 10 animals, and obviously you have to be moving them out to allow for others. So there's going to be a mechanism in place where someone's trying to get these animals where they need to go.
Yes.
So that we can allow for some other additional animals. That is
Yes.
correct?
Yes, and it'll fall initially on the shoulders of our animal welfare unit. Those deputies will be tasked with working closely with the various animal organizations within Taos County to either adopt them out or find a home or get them moving, cycled through our area.
Okay, and one last question. The mobile unit that you've talked about, which I think we're trying to be proactive.
Yes,
and I like that idea because obviously that's very important. The other part to that is because there are grants. I believe a lot of individuals, because there's a cost associated to neutering and spaying. That right? Am I correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Will we be providing those services for free, or how are we going to?
So ultimately, the goal will provide free spay and neutering for all Taos County residents.
Okay.
Through that ban. There are grants, the various animal organizations within Taos County already have access to those grants, and they are willing to provide volunteers and donations to help operate that spay and neuter ban.
And Chair, one more question or comment. Education, obviously, in everything that we do, education is so important. So I'm hoping there's a component in there to bring awareness and educate individuals the responsibility of owning animals.
Absolutely, ma'am. That will be a
correct?
critical component. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Hill. Commissioner Romero, you had a question?
Sheriff, good morning. Thank
Good
you
morning,
for being
sir.
here. Do we have a contract with them right now, or has it expired?
It expired as of July 1.
So it's expired. We don't have a contract with them?
No, sir.
Any dogs that we've taken or cats with them, what happens? No, we don't have a contract with them.
Typically, right now, we're not picking up any animals right
Okay,
now.
but the ones we had before, whose responsibility?
That's their responsibility.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, Miguel. I just had a couple of questions also about the spay and neuter van that Commissioner Vehil was asking about. Where are we in the process of acquiring that for your department? for your office?
The monies have been allocated, and the monies that we're going to be using are typically the monies that, or a portion of the monies that we utilize for our contract with Straight Hearts. Now it's just a matter of me sitting with Ms. Elsa Vigil and going through the procurement process because of the cost and the amount and the type of procurement it is. There's a specific process that has to be followed with regards to that.
Okay, thank you. And my other question about the spay neuter van is with respect to its operations. I know you mentioned a lot of volunteer help, which is a beautiful thing in our community, but I imagine that would probably not, I mean, I don't know if we would have a volunteer veterinarian who would be running that. Would we contract out in some fashion for the operations of the van? Or is that something that we would somehow hire and take on
No,
ourselves?
that one, so to get a little bit more into more specific detail, one of the organizations has in place already funding and infrastructure that would sustain the operation of the van for 3 years.
For 2 years, you said?
3 years. ma'am.
3 years, okay.
And that would include vets, vet techs, volunteers, the medicines, the everything that's required to operate the van.
Okay, so the operations wouldn't fall to your office or
No.
to the county, okay.
Basically, what in a nutshell, we'll provide the van and a driver, and this organization will provide the operations.
Okay. Thank you. Commissioners, any further questions for Sheriff Miata? No. Commissioner Vehil?
Thinking about the town of Taos and the Pueblo, and I was wondering, have they reached out? Because I'm not sure where they're going to be taking or how that works. Have you had any conversations with the town of Taos? Or?
No, I have not, ma'am. Based on what I've been told as of the last council meeting, which took place Tuesday of last week, their contract with Straight Hearts was up for discussion. And as a result, I believe they extended their contract till the end of September, but then they're going to cease their contract as well.
Okay.
Sheriff, one more question.
Yes, sir.
Have you looked into bringing up a mandatory spay neuter in the county?
No, sir, I have not gotten that far into
In
it.
2007, when I was a sheriff, that we were dealing with all this. We brought it up and we wouldn't be dealing with a lot of this right now.
Correct, sir.
Could you look into it, see what it would cost? There's all kinds of rulings as far as breeders and that. But it's something that's going to keep on going. It's going to get more expensive as the years go on, so.
Yes,
could you look into
sir.
it?
I absolutely will. And right now, it's the intent of the sheriff's office that any animals that we come across, once we have acquisition of this spay and neuter van, that any animals that we pick up will automatically get spay and neuter.
And that year, we did have like 40 animals behind our building, if you remember, that
Yes,
we
sir.
were having to feed because of
Yes, sir. I
the
remember.
same situation.
Yes, sir. And I think that, the argument could be made is, with regards to the breeders and these other individuals is, there's a reason why we came to be in possession of their animals. It's not because of the legal possession of those animals or the legal holdings of those animals. So, it's going to come to that point where we will be, any animals that are in our possession prior to return will be spay and neutered.
Madam Chair,
Thank you, Commissioner Romero. Yes, Mr. Trujillo.
I'm sure the sheriff knows this, but I just wanted to point out that we do have an animal control ordinance. So, all of these initiatives have to be filtered through or have to be consistent with the animal control ordinance unless and until it's changed.
Thank you. Appreciate that reminder. And I'm wondering if you have that ordinance handy, if someone could make sure that we have it in front of us for reference as we work through this time. Thank you. Any further questions for Sheriff Miata? Thank you, sir, for being here this morning. Appreciate your time and your
Madam-
efforts on this issue. I know it's complicated right now. So
Thank you very much. Madam Chair, good morning. Commissioners, good morning.
Thank you, sir.
Good day.
Okay, this takes us to item 11, public hearing. Commissioner Vehil.
I'd
Okay.
like to make a motion for a 5-minute break.
I will second that motion. Madam Clerk, would you please call for the vote for a 5-minute break starting at 10:13?
Commissioner Romero?
Yes.
Commissioner Vehil?
Yes.
Commissioner Mascareñas?
Yes.
Vice Chair Romero?
Yes.
Chair Brush?
Yes, thank you. We'll see you back in 5 minutes. Bear with us.
Oh.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Could we have a motion to come back into our regular session at 10:20 a.m.?
Madam Chair, so moved.
Thank you, Vice Chair Romero. I'll go ahead and, Miguel seconded that. Madam Clerk, would you please call the vote to come back into our meeting?
Commissioner Romero?
Yes.
Commissioner Vehil?
Yes.
Commissioner Mascarenhas?
Yes.
Vice Chair Romero?
Yes.
Chair Brush?
Yes, thank you very much. We're back on track. Item 11A, which is public hearing for the discussion, consideration, and decision regarding ordinance 2023-1, authorizing the issuance and sale of the County of Taos, New Mexico County Education Gross Receipts Tax Improvement Revenue Bonds, taxable series 2023, in an aggregate principal amount not to exceed $2,150,000 for the purpose of providing funds for public school capital projects and off-campus instruction program capital projects for Taos Municipal School District, Penasco Independent School District, Cuesta Independent School District, including capital projects at charter schools and state chartered charter schools, and UNM Taos Branch Community College, all within Taos County, providing for the payment of such bonds solely from the county education gross receipts tax imposed by the county and remitted to the county by the state of New Mexico, approving the delegation of authority to make certain determinations regarding the sale of the bonds pursuant to the Supplemental Public Securities Act, prescribing the form and other details concerning the bonds and the funds appertaining thereto, and ratifying action previously taken in connection therewith. Mr. Harmio, do we have Mr. Muirhead from
No,
Model
actually,
Sperling
we
here?
have Mr. Franklin, Peter Franklin from Madro Sperling. He works out of the Santa Fe office. Also online is Eric Harrigan from RBC Capital. Mr. Harrigan needed to be down in Las Cruces this evening, so I said, no, you can just participate online if there's any RBC questions. But with that, Mr. Franklin will take it over.
Thank you, Brent. And good morning, Mr. Franklin. Thank you for being here with us.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the commission. Peter Franklin with Module Sperling. I have maybe a under 60-second summary of the ordinance if you'd like, and then I can answer questions, or I can just start answering questions, whichever you'd prefer.
Why don't you just go ahead with your less than 60-second presentation?
Okay, will do. As the title of the ordinance indicates, the maximum principal amount of the bonds is $2,150,000 payable from the county's education gross receipts tax. That's a half-cent tax. The purchaser of the bonds will be the state treasurer. These bonds will be paid off on, I believe, September 27th, so that the money to pay off the bonds is already on deposit in the county's revenue fund. As you indicated, the proceeds will fund projects for Taos schools, Penasco schools, Cuesta schools, and the UNM Taos Branch Community College. This ordinance will require an affirmative vote of at least 4 of you, FYI. That's my summary.
Thank you very much, Mr. Franklin. Commissioners, any questions for Mr. Franklin?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Yes.
How soon would these funds be available to the school districts in UNM Taos?
I'm not sure what the closing date is. Eric Harrigan with RBC may have that information, but since the bonds will be paid off on September 27th, I would guess about a month before that.
Mr. Harrigan, would you care to weigh in on that question? Yes, we can. Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Harrigan. Appreciate that extra info. Further questions for either Mr. Franklin or Mr. Harrigan? Okay, then I would entertain a motion regarding ordinance 2023-1, authorizing the issuance and sale of the County of Taos, New Mexico County Education Gross Receipts Tax Improvement Revenue Bonds, taxable series 2023, in an aggregate principal amount not to exceed $2,150,000.
Move to approve.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Vehil and Vice Chair Romero. Madam Clerk, please call for the vote.
Commissioner Romero?
Yes.
Commissioner Vehil?
Yes.
Commissioner Mascarenhas?
Yes.
Vice Chair Romero?
Yes.
Chair Brush?
Yes, thank you very much. Ordinance 2023-1 is approved.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, this takes us to public hearing 11B, discussion, consideration, and decision regarding an appeal from a decision made by the Taos County Board of Adjustment to deny a lot size variance. The 8.301 plus minus acre property, which was the subject of the variance request, is located in subzone number 2 in the Upper Las Colonias overlay zone. An appeal of this denial was filed with the Taos County Planning Department on July 5th, 2023. I'm going to go ahead and open the public hearing at 10:26 a.m. today on August 15th, 2023. And I'll let Mr. Rudy Perea come up and just give us an introduction to the issue before we start with our other speakers. Good morning, Rudy. Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair. Good morning, Commissioners again. Yes, this is an appeal from a decision that was made on May 9th by the Taos County Board of Adjustments to deny a variance from the lot size requirements of Ordinance 2003-1, which is the latest version of the Upper Las Colonias Neighborhood Overlay Zone as adopted within Ordinance 2018-2. The applicant property owner requested a variance from this from the regulation of subzones number 2, section 4A within the Upper Las Colonias Neighborhood Zone in order to develop a 24-lot subdivision on an 8.30 acre property. What they wanted was an average lot size of 0.33 acres on this property in order to develop a 24-lot subdivision. And Madam Chair, Commissioners, they have complied with all the applicable public hearing notification requirements as stated in our land use regulations. And then also, Madam Chair, for the record, I would like to present into this conversation the packet that I submitted to you over a week ago. Under Exhibit A, I would like to submit the notice of public hearing appeal. Exhibit B, my staff report, which is labeled Staff Review Appeal 23-002. Under Exhibit C, I would like to also enter into the record the copy of Affidavit of Compliance with Public Hearing Notification Requirements and a copy of the Albuquerque Journal Affidavit of Publication. Under Exhibit D, I would like to submit the appellant's application, which is appeal application appeal-23-002. Under Exhibit E, I would also like to submit the appellant submittal, which was the original variance application that was submitted to the Taos County Board of Adjustments. And finally, Madam Chair, Commissioners, I would like to add an additional exhibit, which I handed out to you this morning, which is Exhibit F, which is a vicinity map showing where the subject property is located in relation to the other zones in Upper Las Colonias and in relation to State Highway 150 and State Highway 522. So, Madam Chair, that concludes my initial presentation, and I will be back later, of course, but at this time, I would like to turn over the podium to Mr. Steve Nadelson, who is representing the appellants.
Thank you, Mr. Perea.
Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Nadelson.
Good morning, Madam Chairman, and members of the Taos County Commission. Thank you for taking the time to familiarize yourself with our application or our appeal from the Board of Adjustments decision. I'll summarize the the issues, I think, briefly. The Upper Las Colonias Neighborhood Association, I call them ULCNA, they created their own zoning ordinance back in 2003. The ordinance provided for what I consider to be a density gap in residential development. On the one hand, there is the ability for, in subzone 2, to construct 10 units per acre. So on 8 acres, that would be 80 units. And I think the ordinance was adopted after the Quail Ridge condos were mostly in place. In that ordinance, they also provided for a minimum lot size of 1 acre. So my client, Songwriter, who had previously gotten approval for an 80 unit project on that same property, let that approval lapse, has come back with a 24 lot subdivision using Quail Ridge Community Water and Sewer, which is in place, in which Water and Sewer Association serves a great majority of the residential units already in place. The application that we submitted was the job that Mr. Perea did, found that we were conforming to 2 of the 5 requirements that are necessary for granting a variance. And they're in your packet. And if I find my glasses, I'll direct myself to it's okay that I call Rudy, Mr. Perea, Rudy, because I've known him for a while, and he can call me Steve anytime he wants. That we do not, we meet the criteria of section 8.1.2, section A2. In that will not be the project will not be detrimental to public health, safety, or welfare, nor will it be materially injurious to properties or improvements in the area of notice due to the following reasons. And he set forth those reasons why we would be in compliance. And the one prior to that is that we meet the criteria of section A1 to subsection A1 of the land use regulations due to the fact that the lot size that we're requesting are consistent with high density residential development that exists within the Upper Las Colonias overlay zone, meaning that rather than asking for 80 units on this 8 acre parcel, we're asking for 24 units on the 8 acre parcel. So it's less dense than what is already permitted in Upper Las Colonias subzone 2. However, we're not, Mr. Perea's and Rudy's opinion was that we did not comply with the rest of the sections of the variance ordinance. And basically, that's that's his opinion as set forth in his in paragraph 4 of his report. And what I would submit to you is that that this is not a hardship brought on by the developer. It's a bit of a, Mr. Pereira's argument is, in my view, a bit semantics, in that if the developer has the ability to either do a 1 acre lot in that area or an 80 acre lot or an 80 units within that area, that somehow that is his own hardship. What I would argue, and when I'll give you, put it a little bit in historical context also, is that under the Taos County subdivision regulations, differing from the land use or zoning regulations, a 0.25 acre lot is permissible when you have community water and sewer accessible, which this project is located in an area where we will be able to contract with the Quail Ridge entity for community water and sewer. So under the subdivision regulations, we're legit. We could, if the variance is approved, then we go to the next step of doing the subdivision application. One other thing is that Upper Las Colonias Neighborhood Association and the Planning Department have been drafting a revision to the ULCNA zoning ordinance as early as 2019. And that revision is close to being ready to submit to the county commission, but not yet. It's now 2023. And the revision to the ordinance would permit a 0.25 acre lot as long as there is community water and sewer available. So if the variance is approved, that's just the introductory step to providing the complete application for a preliminary plat approval with all the requirements, some of which Rudy has suggested as be included in an approval, to which I have no objection. Largely, primarily being the traffic study for Comanche Road onto the highway there, that public road. So everything that is required before this subdivision would get approved, we are going to prepare. We're in the process of preparing that application. But this is the key that unlocks the door to the submission of the application. I personally think that in the context of the need for housing in Taos, and in the context of inflation and high interest rates, that this project should have a chance to see the light, to see if it actually, if the subdivision is approved, if it actually makes sense to develop it. As I drive around town, I see some other projects that have been approved, but nothing has happened. It's a tough time for housing. The county's aware of it. Affordable housing is high on everybody's agenda. It's not easy to achieve in this economic environment. So I appreciate the time that you're going to spend reviewing the documents that Rudy has put in front of you, listening to my argument. I'll stand for any questions, and I may have a few questions for Rudy after he makes his presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Nadelson. Appreciate it. Do we entertain our questions now, or do we move on to? Yes, okay. Commissioners, any questions for
Madam Chair,
Mr. Nadelson? Yeah, Vice Chair Romero.
Mr. Nadelson, so is the applicant requesting that a maximum of 24 units be developed on this 8.3 acre tract?
Yes, that is correct. 24 lots.
And under the present status quo, up to 80 units could be developed?
Correct. Under the current zoning, up to 80 units could be developed on this site without the necessity of any variance. We want to do lesser density, and thus we need the variance from the minimum lot size in subzone 2, which is 1 acre. We want to shrink it down to 0.33 acres for these 24 lots.
What, Mr. Nelson, what is the capacity of the Trail Ridge water and sewer facility?
It has sufficient capacity for both water and sewer. And that will be part of the subdivision application. The Quail Ridge they have a discharge permit that was issued in 2021 for 5 years. And any issues regarding the capacity to provide water and sewer will be addressed in the subdivision application, at which time all the information will be submitted to the relevant state agencies. Not only capacity, but water quality also. The same water that everybody that's being served by the Quail Ridge Water Association, these lots will be served with the same water. So that water quality will be monitored and tested regularly as a community water system usually is.
How many units are hooked up to this water and sewer now?
Presently, probably in excess of 100, I'm thinking. Just for the Quail Ridge condominium project. There's 5 different condominium associations out there. I haven't counted them, but yeah, we have Pete French is the manages that, and he has assured us that he has sufficient water capacity and water rights capacity. The infrastructure, the distribution of the water and the collection of the liquid waste, that cost is on the developer.
I have no other questions right now, but other commissioners.
Thank you, Vice Chair Romero. Any other questions right now for Mr. Nagelson? Okay.
Do I vacate the podium?
Yes, you do, for the time being. Yeah, thank you. And so at this point, we have the appellees can make their presentation, and
We have an
yeah, we do. Good morning.
Get this down. I guess this is on. Good morning, commissioners. My name is Eugenia Hauber, Hauber. I live in Upper Las Colonias, and I am a member of the board of ULCNA.
Ms. Hauber, just one moment. We need to have you sworn in by our
Oh,
clerk.
sorry.
We always, it's easy to overlook that. Thank you guys for reminding me. Madam Clerk.
I do.
Thank you.
So I have been a board member since 2012, board president for 4 years until one meeting Kurt was absent, so we voted him in as president. I've been on, we have a subgroup called the Joint Working Group. And it's a subdivision of the board that has worked on zoning with the planning department since 2012, 11 very long years, I might add. The way Upper Las Colonias came to be was that one of our members realized that the covenants that were in place were going to expire, and we had been a member of a larger neighborhood, and she went door to door and said maybe we should break off and be our own neighborhood association. And we already had a lot of building, and so our zoning was done to reflect that which was already in place. I mean, Quail Ridge was there. Quail Ridge was multifamily. We weren't going to rezone it for commercial only or single family housing. I might add that I'm proud that our zoning has something for everybody. Mobile home, yes, we've got that. Single family, we have that. Multiple family, we have that zoning. We have light commercial for properties that adjoin residential properties. We have full commercial for those properties which are separate, not adjoining. Our board is neither in favor nor opposed at this stage to the proposal by Tiger Menarchik and Steve Nadelson. We feel that we don't have enough information. It's sort of this aspirational 24 single family houses. 2003-1 calls for single family housing to have a minimum of 1 acre and only one primary home on the lot. Section 2, which is multifamily, provides for 1 acre minimum, which is what Mr. Nadelson wishes to have a variance from. It also, though, provides for only 2 freestanding buildings on the acre. So I'm not sure how, even if the appeal were granted, and I understand that this is a de novo appeal, I don't know how they get around only 2 freestanding buildings on an acre when they say they want 3 on a third of an acre. I am a little concerned about whether the LUR was actually followed for notice. No one in Upper Las Colonias really received notice of this hearing. The board is at fault for our own. We had an old incorrect address on our webpage, which, by the way, is www.ulcna.org. And we try to keep that completely up to date to let the community know what is going on. We put the minutes of our board meetings on there. The notice, we thought, we had one of our board members, John Redhorse, spent over an hour going through every Taos news for the months of June and July, looking for the notice of appeal. And lo and behold, we discovered yesterday that it was on Friday, the 28th of July, in the Albuquerque Journal. I would venture a bet that 0 members of Upper Las Colonias saw that on Friday, the 28th, in the Albuquerque Journal. All prior notices had been in the Taos News. I understand that this legally complies, since it is a paper of general jurisdiction, but it certainly was not the choice to best inform people of this hearing. One of our members, Tom Ottinger, who I think will speak, told me he did not receive notice. Notice was sent to him, but it was sent to Dallas. He has a home in Dallas and he has a home here. And so again, notice, while legally compliant, wasn't designed to really notify our community. I might add that on our webpage, the board members are all listed, our emails are all listed, our phone numbers are all listed. It's pretty easy to get hold of all of us, and it's not as if we're New York City. People know one another here. We are concerned about the water and sewer, and we're not sure that there would not be a terrible effect on our wells. We all have wells in Upper Las Colonias. We're not hooked up to water supply. Perhaps Quail Ridges, I'm not quite sure about that. But for all the rest of the homeowners, there have been issues with the sewer emanating not just smells. And Mr. Ottinger lives right across the street from that, so he's been, unfortunately, very familiar with that. I think that that's probably mostly what I have to say, except for the fact that we feel, first of all, a variance is not the proper way to accomplish what Mr. Menarchek and Mr. Nadelson want to accomplish. It says right in the variance section that it's refers to a request for a relief from a dimensional requirement of the land use regulations, such as a setback or other performance requirements. These are generally minor in nature and only affect the immediate adjacent property owners. Well, that certainly isn't the case with this variance. We would also argue that the planning staff and the Board of Adjustment, which voted to 2 votes to deny the variance and 1 abstention. And the planning department had said, and still I believe it is their opinion, that they do not meet the requirements of section 1.8.1.2A, and then the 5 conditions which must be met, each and every one of them, to grant a variance. Literal or strict interpretation and enforcement of the specified performance standards or regulation would result in unnecessary hardship inconsistent with the purpose of these regulations. No, it wouldn't. And also that it's justified because, and this is number 3, that the topographic or physical conditions on the site make compliance not literally or economically feasible. Well, that they don't meet that standard. Is it better? Perhaps what they're suggesting. Certainly better than 80. You know, it goes between, the area goes between Ski Valley Road and Upper Las Colonias. And the through road, which winds, is Comanche. And it is only half paved. Upper Las Colonias Road, where I live, is not paved. We are a walking neighborhood. We walk our dogs, we walk ourselves. Every day in our neighborhood, people walk. We don't have sidewalks. We have almost no paved roads, except for that short area of Comanche and 522 and 150. Other than that, we're dirt roads with 15-mile-an-hour speed limits. And I just feel that the board feels that there are perils if this is granted. I thank you. We have another board member, Jeff Tettenbaum, who is here, who is our treasurer. We have Tom, we have another member, and I think we have some people perhaps on the phone. I thank you for the opportunity to speak and would ask if anyone has any questions of me.
Thank you, Ms. Haber. Unless there are any questions, I think we'll move to further public comment. So thank you very much.
Good, thank you.
And Mr. Trujillo, you course correct me if I'm off process.
Yes, Madam Chair, I just reminded if anybody else is going to speak in the place of the appellee, then don't be redundant. We've had a speaker be very comprehensive in her comments already. If you just want to say that you support what's already been said, you might be able to do that, and we can move this hearing along.
Thank you, Mr. Trujillo. Is there anyone else in the room who would like to make such public comment? Okay. And good morning. As a reminder, like you'll be sworn in by our clerk.
Yes.
Yes. Good morning. My name is Tom Ottinger. I own a house at 23 Comanche Road, El Prado. I'm offering the comments of a homeowner nearby to the proposed development. I am not opposed to development, nor do I have the wherewithal to stop it. I certainly agree with issues within Taos County regarding affordable housing. I would definitely support the comments of the board representative regarding this. I will quickly try to just review my personal concerns. The Comanche Road ingress egress issue does deserve very careful consideration, in my opinion. It is a narrow dirt road as it runs from the paved portion ending at the Quail Ridge condos over to Upper Las Colonias. Two vehicles passing each other do need to carefully regard the space that's available. Emergency vehicle access, I think, could be an issue. There is a very narrow winding access to Comanche Road from Upper Las Colonias from 522. If some situation involves preventing access from 150. So that is a concern. The sewer treatment issue, as discussed, is of concern. I have owned my home since 2015 and have observed on many occasions a foul odor. I did choose a home right across the street, right across the road. However, there are times when it has been fine and times when it has not been. Is that capacity capable of handling this increased development? And further, I would just add that had I been aware of the original commercial development, excuse me, not commercial, but multifamily development from the original songwriter proposal, when I bought my home, that would have given me pause. I believe that takes care of my comments. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Is anyone else in the room who would like, yes, please come up.
Good morning to all the, okay.
You swear and affirm under oath and penalty of lawful perjury that the testimony you're about to give is true and factual.
I do.
State your name, please, for the record.
My name is Craig Stamps, and I live in a small condo right at Quail Ridge, right by the tennis courts. I'm not a member of the board. I'm an ordinary citizen. I don't represent anybody except myself. I moved here and retired here from Minnesota 3 years ago, and I fell in love with this place. I'm going to speak to you organically, and folksy, again, I don't represent anybody here. I know these folks, but I just wanted to give you the experience of having lived here 3 years and walking down Comanche Road every night for the last 3 years. I walked 3 to 4 miles down Comanche, heading north on BA 041, all the way up past Del Norte, up to Gavilan and back. So I have stood in front of the property in question 1,000 times. It's one of the most gorgeous properties one could imagine. These are some observations that I have during the course of the last 3 years. And again, please, understand this is an organic, presentation, please. So there have been in the last 3 years, somewhere between 9 to 10 new homes built, mostly between Del Norte and Gavilan North. The thing that I found most remarkable about those 9 to 10 homes, these are luxury to higher end homes, is the low impact and non-obtrusive way that they impacted not only the land in which they were built, but all the existing owners' homes around them. Now, of course, these were built over a 3-year time frame, and so that wasn't all done at once. But there was a very minimal amount of sagebrush removed as the construction went on, as I would witness it over the course of the last 3 years. And the end result was that when you walk by these homes now that were built 3, 2, and 1 year ago, what you see is it looks as if they sprouted from the sagebrush. Very minimal, low impact on the neighbors who live nearby. And I think that, again, in my humble opinion, it's the best case scenario of how new construction and the environment can blend together to create the best effect. And regardless of whether what I'm describing, regardless of whether it happened because of strict covenants of the building, allowance there, 1 home per 1 acre, or whether it occurred, by some consciousness, some mindfulness of the builder involved, doesn't matter. The end result is you walk by there and it's like, wow, that really blends in and blends in well. As it relates to the project at hand, here are just a few observations that I have. Again, this is the thing that kind of stands out to me if this proposed project is allowed. First off, there's probably 100 to 150 people who would be involved, who would be, directly impacted by this project, especially those directly across from that beautiful property in the Casas, the Quail Ridge Casas. They're right there. And so they would be the most affected, but people all the way up to my condo, which is right on the tennis courts, would also be affected. And specifically, what do I mean? I see several phases. I've lived next to construction projects before, and this is just natural phases of construction that I think it's just something to be aware of those who will be affected. So the first phase would be the heavy equipment phase, bulldozers, front end loaders, all of that. I did a quick Google check to amuse myself, and those, heavy equipment, machines have decibel readings of around 130 decibels. Jet engine is 150, et cetera. So that's per bulldozer. And this project would start at 6 a.m. and go until 7 p.m. That's not unique.
And we don't know those details yet, so if you could.
Right, I'm just saying.
Madam
that
Chair, yeah, we don't have those details. And regardless of what's built out there, whether it's 1 per acre, or if it's condos that are 60 or this, all of that construction stuff is going to happen. So I'd ask the speaker to focus on the difference on the variance request itself. And that's to getting down to 0.33 acres as opposed to 1 acre, and how that is relevant.
So again, what I said at the very first was just noticing the homes that were built, 1 home per 1 acre. So as it relates to this particular project,
please.
As it relates to this particular project, it seems to me, and I'm not anti-development, Councilor Nadelson, is that building 1 home per 1 acre on this property, and this property is, in my humble opinion, the crown jewel. You're looking east to the Taos Pueblo Mountains, you've got south gorgeous mountains, and you've got west some of the most gorgeous sunsets every night. So why not, location, why not build less homes for a higher end client? If profitability is the key, then why not build 8 homes on 8 acres at $1.5 million with huge profit margins potential and have less impact on the environment to all the citizens involved? That's how I would end
Thank you,
that.
Mr. Sims. Thank you for your comments today. Is there anybody else in the room who would like to make public comment? If not, should we turn it over to the phones? If there's anybody watching online and who would like to make public comment, that number is 575-737-6310. Again, 575-737-6310. And we'll give it just a minute or so. Okay. Hello, are you calling in to make a public
Hello?
comment? Yes, hello.
Yes, my name is John Redhorse.
Mr. Redhorse, one moment.
Yes.
We need to have you sworn in.
Thank you.
Is Mr. Redhorse?
Yes,
One
Do you
moment, sir.
swear and affirm under oath and penalty of law for perjury that the testimony you're about to give is true and factual?
Did you hear our clerk?
I didn't hear that so well, but yes, I do.
Okay, are we good? And if you could just state your name and where you live for the record.
Yes, my name is John Redhorse. I too am a condo owner in the Quail Ridge condos. My mailing address is P.O. Box 36, El Prado, 87529. And I also would like to say that I am also, as Ms. Hauber mentioned earlier, a member of the board on the Upper Las Colinas Neighborhood Association. And I really do want to make this terse. I'm not a great public speaker, but I'm going to bring up a couple of things because they were brought up by others. When Ms. Hauber suggested that the public notice had been proper, albeit somewhat marginal, I submit that that is not correct, because in the words of the ordinance, this is 2018-2, the land use regulation of Taos County, it specifically states for the newspaper notice that it has to be given in a paper that is published in Taos County and of general circulation in Taos County. Those two criteria are not met. And so I don't believe that as a technical point, which Mr. Trujillo might want me to be also concise on, so that I don't want to belabor that point. And the second point about the public notice, or no, I'm sorry, technical point, is that I don't believe that it's clear to me that the appeal was filed within the proper time frame. It was filed with the county on July 5th. That hearing, and I don't know when the paperwork was filed, I couldn't find it on the Taos County website, from the Board of Adjustment was made on May 9th. So that's almost 2 months, 8 weeks. And maybe the paperwork wasn't filed for another month. I don't know after that Board of Adjustment hearing, but it is not within the required 30 days. So a couple of other points I'd like to make specifically on the variance request. Mr. Nadelson cited this as a linchpin event to get this variance request, so all the balls could be rolling. And he mentioned the density requirement in the performance criteria for the Upper Las Colinas overlay, land use regulation overlay. But what he does not mention in that very same paragraph where the density is given, that there's additional restriction of maximum of 2 buildings per acre. In addition to that, there are some questions, he brought it up in the application, about the slam dunk on the water rights that Mr. French at Quail Ridge Water and Sewer has access to. The condos, I'm also a member of one of the HOA boards at the Quail Ridge condos, the same complex that Craig lives in, is that we commissioned a report on water rights in 2005 to ascertain the status of our own water rights. That is for the entire complex. And at that time, it was noted in the report that we commissioned, this was via Glorieta Geosciences out of Santa Fe. And they commissioned the report from a contractor. But in that report, the 16 plus acre feet per year of water that Pete would have to access in there, because I don't believe he has additional capacity beyond these water rights, they have not been exercised since at least the latest that was in that report was in the mid 70s. So now that is getting close to 50 years ago. And I would say that the summary in there is that if they tried to move the points of diversion, that is the water wells, they draw that water from, it would very likely be contested. And so just to kind of mention that these water rights are also not a slam dunk. On the hardship aspect of the variance, I would submit to you guys, all of y'all, that these hardships have all been self-induced. They're not asking for the proper variances. They've got questions down the road of water, and they have questions in addition to that about coverage, because in the third of acre, accommodating the 30-foot setbacks for each of those lots, 1/3 acre lots, getting roads and driveways and all other things into these lots, they're going to run in a maximum coverage criterion failure in the land use regulation overlay. And so I'm just trying to say that it doesn't really make sense, because there's a lot of criteria that are still not going to be satisfied, even if this one simple aspect of the variance of the several criteria is actually granted. And so anyway, thank you very much for letting me give my 2 cents worth. And I'm going to bail out now.
Okay.
So.
Thank you, Mr. Edhorst. Appreciate your comments. Okay, if there's anyone else who would like to call in, that number one last time is 575-737-6310. Seven three seven 6310. Okay, seeing or hearing no further phone calls, I believe we will now move on to Mr. Perez's presentation.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioners. Just to summarize, if you bear with me a second, I'm going to go ahead and read Section 8.1.2 variances in the land use regulations, just to give you an idea of how I constructed my staff report. So please bear with me while I read through these criteria. Under this section 8.1.2a, it says a bulk variance refers to a request for relief from dimensional requirements of the land use regulations, such as setback or other performance requirements. And what they're asking for is a performance, a relaxation of the performance requirement, which is the lot size. So anyway, it says these are generally minor in nature and only affect the immediately adjacent property owners. When granting the bulk variance, the Board of Adjustment or Planning Commission should seek, if possible, as a condition of approval, an offsetting correction from the applicant, such as eliminating other non-conforming conditions on the property. And this is the point section in this code I really want to emphasize, Madam Chair and Commissioners. It says the applicant shall have the burden of proving that the facts regarding the application meet the following criteria, without which a variance shall not be granted. So number one, as I referenced in my staff report under this criteria, it says does not constitute a grant of special privilege inconsistent with limitations on other properties in the area of notice. They met that requirement. Number two, uphold the intent of these regulations is consistent with the county comprehensive plan and will not be detrimental to the public health, safety, or welfare, or materially injurious to properties or improvements in the area of notice. And Madam Chair and Commissioners, as I referenced in my staff report, they would meet this requirement if they were going to be applying for a subdivision, because again, not only would our department be reviewing the application, it would be the state of New Mexico Environmental Department for sewage issues, state engineer's office for water issues, the highway department for traffic access, state historic preservation office, possibly even the Army Corps of Engineers. So they meet that requirement. But number 3, and I'll read that to you, is justified because the existing size or shape of the site, lot, or existing structures thereon, or topographic or physical conditions on the site or in the area required or notice make compliance not literally or economically feasible or advisable, and such conditions are neither the fault of nor reasonably remediable by the applicant, and that the exceptional or extraordinary circumstances or conditions applicable to the site do not apply generally to other properties to the vicinity. As referenced in my staff report, Madam Chair and Commissioners, they do not meet this criteria because, again, the property is pretty flat. There's no topographical issues as far as them being able to fully develop the property that they're wanting to do a subdivision on, so they do not meet that requirement. And then going out to number 4, under the variance criteria, strict or literal interpretation and enforcement of the specified performance standards or regulation will result in unnecessary hardship inconsistent with the purpose of these regulations. Madam Chair, Commissioners, I felt they did not meet this requirement because, again, even under the current zoning standards that are in place for this subject property, they would still be allowed to develop either as referenced by the appellees, they would either be able to put 8 units on the property, or they would be able to put up to 80 units on the property. So in other words, even if they do not get this variance, they would still be able to develop their property. The county is not denying them that right. So they do not meet that criteria. And finally, Madam Chair, under number 5, under this variance requirements, that the hardship the applicant is asking for to be relieved from was not self-created. Madam Chair, Commissioners, as I referenced in my staff report, it is a self-created hardship because, again, I go back to criteria number 4, because, again, even if this variance is not granted, the applicant is not deprived of his right to develop that property according to the current zoning standards. So, Madam Chair, Commissioners, I stand for any questions you might have on my staff report or on my determination that they do not meet all the criteria for the granting of a variance.
Thank you, Rudy. Thank you very much. Commissioners, questions for Mr. Perdea?
Madam Chair, Mr.
Mr.
Padilla,
Romero.
would it be better long-term to have 80 units developed on this unit or 24? Which would be better for the neighborhood?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Romero, that would be up to the neighborhood and the property owner to decide that. If there's, from a technical standpoint, I guess they would have a lot more hurdles to overcome if they were going to be developing an 80 condominium unit, because then they would have to find, according to our regulations, they would have to provide parking spaces for those units, which probably would at a minimum be at least 80 parking spaces. And then, of course, there's the impact on the roads, Tewa and Comanche. And as you see referenced in the vicinity map that I gave you, the roads aren't quite up to the standards of being able to accommodate, at least a minimum of 80 additional cars on that road, and then again, I would defer to the Public Works Department on that. But in this case, and then also there's the impact again on the existing water and sewer system. That would have to be worked out as well. So either way, there would be some level of review by our department for either of the 2 proposals. But at this point, I would leave that up to the commission to decide what the best alternatives would be, because again, the whole key point here is that whatever route the applicant chooses to go, again, the county is not denying him his development rights. He can develop the property the way it's currently situated with their zoning regulations.
Thank you, Rudy, and thank you for the question, Vice Chair Romero.
Any
Other questions for Mr. Perea? Yeah, Commissioner Vehil.
I'm just curious in regards to notifying the public, and there was comments that it didn't run through the Taos News.
Yes, Madam
I
Chair.
believe we've done everything accurately, but is there a reason
Yes.
why we didn't do that? I just find it a little bit.
Yes, Madam
strange.
Chair. The reason for that was the appellants did not meet the deadline requirements for the publication in the Taos News. Because they didn't meet that requirement to be published within the 15-day timeframe that's required by our public hearing notification requirements, the only alternative for them was to publish in the Albuquerque Journal, which is a newspaper in general circulation in Taos County. So they did meet the requirement that way. And so again, the key there was a 15-day notice. They didn't meet the Taos News's deadline requirements, so they had to defer to the Albuquerque Journal because they publish every day. And so that's why they had to go with them in order to meet the 15-day notice, because if they hadn't done that, then this meeting wouldn't
I'll
have
follow
happened.
up on that. Thank
Right.
you. So anyone that's going to have to do that is very much well aware of that they're going to have to post, and they should know what the requirements are of Taos News. I just
Yes,
find
Madam
it
Chair.
odd, and I'm going to,
Yes.
I find that odd.
Yes,
I
Madam
don't look at the Albuquerque Journal every day myself, so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and I understand the question. And Madam Chair, and for the information of the commissioners, Madam Chair, Commissioner Behill, what I do is when I deem the application complete, I tell them, I give them all the deadlines they have to meet within that letter, specific dates, and when they have to publish in the newspaper, specific dates when they have to send letters to property owners within the area of notice, and then also specific dates as to when they have to post on the property. So again, when I do deem their application complete, I give them all those deadlines, and I prepare all the paperwork they need to get to the Taos News for the legal ad and the posters to post on the property, and I even create the template for them that they send out to the property owners within the area of notice, so they understand, that there's going to be a hearing and when the day it's going to be and time and so on. So,
Madam Chair, just one
Yeah.
last question regarding that. Who made that rule?
oh, you mean for the,
As far as it's okay to publish on any newspaper that circulates?
it's
within a
it's in our land use regulations.
So that can be changed so that it's more local?
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely. It can.
Okay.
Madam Chair, Commissioner Beal, thinking, I interpret your question a little bit different. So if it's ordinances like we had just a moment ago, or the resolutions, it's in state statutes that it says a paper of general circulation.
State statutes.
So they're probably grabbing it from state statutes.
Thank you for that clarification. Okay.
Thank you, Brandon. I
Okay.
appreciate that.
And
Yes.
perhaps going forward, if Albuquerque Journal is the way to meet the statutory requirement, like out of, goodwill and spirit of our community, we could also say,
Right.
be a day late, but also put it in the Taos News, check the legal box with the Journal, but do our community the service of actually publishing. Just a potential thing to suggest or
Chair,
recommend.
I totally agree.
Yes, and I agree, Madam Chair, Commissioners. It's just, again, that the Taos News only publishes once a week,
Yeah.
and they have really strict deadlines. So if you don't meet those, unfortunately, like Brent was mentioning, we have to defer to another newspaper in order to get the applicants to comply with our requirements.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, any further questions for Mr. Pereira?
Madam Chair, one
Vice
more
Chair Romero.
question. One more question on water and sewer. Are most of the homes in this area connected or hooked? Do they have their own private wells and septic tanks, or are they connected to a water and sewer?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Romero, I would defer to Eugenia. Maybe she can answer that question. But it's my understanding, just from the conversations we've had during this meeting, that primarily the condominium units are the ones that utilize the water and sewer treatment system that they have on site. And again, as I referenced in my staff report, should this variance be approved by the board of county commissioners, they would still need to go through many hoops with the state in order to be able to utilize that existing system. So, Mr. Chair and Eugenia, if you don't mind, if you can answer the question about.
Well, you agree, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if they
Yeah.
don't agree, they can say so.
Yeah.
Madam Chair, I do have a question for Rudy.
Sure.
If you don't mind, and this is rare for me to do this, but it was brought up and I want to address it if we can. In the open meeting, was this appeal filed timely?
Yes, it was. And what was mentioned by Mr. Redhorse was inaccurate because the appeal window doesn't start after the meeting. The appeal window starts after the record of decision is recorded with the clerk's office. And so they do have a 30-day window from the date that the record of decision is recorded at the clerk's office, and the appellants did meet that for the record. So.
Okay, thank you for the question.
Madam Chair, may I say a couple things with regard to the application, just for clarification?
Absolutely, Mr. Trio.
Purposes. Okay, so first of all, there have been a lot of questions with regard to water, sewer access, those sorts of things. And I agree with the presentation of the appellants in that those issues are really going to be addressed at the preliminary and final plat stages. So we're going to have all the experts from the state commenting on all of those things. And if you can't, if it can't support this many lots, then it's not going to get approved. And we'll have the experts in those areas opining on those issues. We're not at this stage. It wouldn't be appropriate for us to do it, and we don't have the resources or people with that expertise. So I just wanted to make sure we understand what that is. This is a very unique situation in that if you look at the LURs, there is no minimum lot size. However, in this design overlay zone, there is. And that's why we're going under Section 8 for variances, because it is a zoning issue. So in any zoning case, whenever you're looking at whenever you're looking for a variance, you need to prove at its core, you need to prove a hardship. And you need to show that it's basically unique. I'm being treated differently than everyone else because of, it's usually the configuration of a lot, or I've got a big mountain in the middle of my lot and I can't. Those are the sorts of things, those topographical things typically are the basis for a variance in the zoning case, Not always, but typically. In this instance, what we have is the hardship is that they can't develop as many lots as they want to, given the way that what do you call it, design overlay zone is written.
Yes.
But it's really odd in that you can have 80. So in terms of density, you can have 80 dwelling units. That's density. But in terms of lots, you can only have one per acre. So you can only have 8. So both are permissive. One is going to be a huge drain on resources and that sort of thing, and the other isn't. What he's proposing is something in the middle. And while it makes absolute sense, and the point I'm trying to make here is, if you were forced, if this was a question for a special use permit, or if it was a question for an actual amendment to the zoning code, I think it would be absolutely reasonable to say, okay, well, God, 80 is allowed. We ought to allow something in between those two things, but that's not what this is. You're limited to these 5 criteria that Rudy laboriously went through to establish whether or not this can be granted. At its core is a hardship. Rudy said there's no hardship because you can develop right now as it is. And that's also what the Board of Adjustments decided. They agreed as well. So you need to decide, you need to find a hardship in order to approve this variance. I'll stay for questions or sit for questions if you have any.
Thank you, Mr. Trujillo. Commissioners, further questions for Mr. Perea? Okay, we do have the option to go into executive session to discuss this meeting. Oh, Mr. Nadelson.
I asked Rudy at the outset.
Please come up to the microphone.
I wanted to ask Rudy a few questions while he was, after he made his presentation, if that's permissible.
That is permissible, yeah.
Can we share this microphone up here?
Sure.
Okay.
As long as you're comfortable with that, you guys go for it.
I apologize for always calling him Rudy, but that's how I know him.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Rudy, I made a representation during my presentation that under the current Taos County subdivision regulations, a 0.25 acre lot that's served by community water and sewer is permissible. Is that correct?
Yes.
And I also made a representation that there is pending, that your staff and OCNA have been working for several years to amend the provisions of the OCNA zoning ordinance to allow for a lot size of 0.25 acres when served by community water and sewer. Was that an accurate representation?
Yes, yes, and if I may respond real quick.
Yeah.
Okay. Madam Chair, Commissioners, it is true under our subdivision regulations that that you can go down to a 1/4 acre lot size if you have access to community water and sewer. However, that's for areas outside of the Upper Las Colonias neighborhood and Stagecoach neighborhood that aren't zoned. In this case, the difference here is that Upper Las Colonias has zoning and has specific performance standards, as I referenced, for regards to lot size and stuff like that. So, that 1/4 acre lot size only applies to areas outside of these places that are not zoned. So just for clarification, I just wanted to mention that.
So I guess my follow-up question, Rudy, is there a draft amendment to the Upper Las Colonias zoning ordinance that would change the minimum lot size in subzone 2 to 0.25 of an acre if it's served by community water and sewer? And I included some of that documentation in my application.
Yes.
Yes, there is.
Yes, there is.
So tell the commissioners what the status of that draft amendment is.
Okay, Madam Chair, Commissioners, I'd like to bring up.
Madam Chair, Commissioners, if I may.
Yes.
This is a variance request. It's about those 5 criteria. This is
Exactly.
beyond the scope of the 5 criteria for granting a variance. What may be in the hopper, what may come to you or may not, it may never happen. It's totally irrelevant
Thank
to
you.
this inquiry. And I
We
would submit that
we
you
do need
stop.
to stay focused on this specific issue at
So
hand,
this-
and again, not what may or may not happen in the future, because we
So
can't predict that.
I guess would you agree with the attorney and that this 5-person commission has the ability to override your opinion and find a hardship and thus grant the variance?
Madam Chair, Commissioners, yes, you guys do have the authority to override staff's recommendations or the Board of Adjustments recommendations per the Land Use Code.
Thank you, Rudy.
Thank you.
Thank you both.
Okay, any more questions, Madam Chair, Commissioners, for me?
I don't believe so.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair, perhaps before you go into closed session, the attorney took his opportunity to ask questions of Rudy. Because this is a public hearing, it is allowed, cross-examination is allowed of any witness. So the attorney could ask questions of people that spoke out in opposition to the request. The people that spoke out in opposition to the request may ask questions about things in the presentation of the applicant. It's important that they understand that any question that's asked has to be within the scope of what was testified already on direct. So they can't just ask any question. It's got to be about what was testified to, and I'd suggest that you put severe time limits on this, otherwise it could get out of hand.
Thank you, Patrick. So if there is a question on that, then perhaps we entertain a question or two per, and we can go.
So I
for
guess
a
the
couple
first
minutes.
question is, does the applicant's representative have any questions of anybody that testified in opposition to the request? And if you do, you can come up here, ask the question to the chair, and the chair will decide whether it's appropriate to ask the question to the other person.
I would say that I have no questions of any of the people who came here to comment. I very much appreciate their participation. I may not agree with their opinions, but I respect their right to come here and offer their opinions because they live in the neighborhood.
Thank you, Mr. Nadelson. Appreciate that.
Now, does anybody that spoke out in opposition to the request have any questions of the applicant's representative?
And again, specifically focused on something that was presented by the applicant.
So no.
Okay.
Now, if you want to go into closed session, you can do that.
We can either entertain a motion to go into executive session, or we can entertain a motion regarding upholding or denying the appeal from a decision made by the Taos County Board of Adjustment to deny a lot size variance. Commissioners, what are your wishes?
I make a motion to uphold the decision made by the Taos County Board of Adjustment.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, please call for the vote to uphold the appeal, to uphold the decision made by the Taos County Board of Adjustment denying the lot size variance.
Commissioner Romero? Commissioner Vehil?
Yes.
Commissioner Mascareñas?
Yes.
Vice Chair Romero?
Yes.
Chair Brush?
Yes. Okay, the Board of Adjustment decision is upheld. Thank you, everybody, for being here today, for presenting your cases and your opinions. Okay, this takes us to agenda item 12, resolutions and ordinances. 12A is discussion, consideration, and decision regarding the approval of resolution number 2023-29, a resolution adopting an infrastructure capital improvement plan, an ICIP, for fiscal year 2024 through 2028. And do we have Ms. Lori Montoya, our grants administrator, here? This is a topic that we have reviewed and discussed the last couple of meetings. Our deadline for submitting it, I believe, is Friday. So this is our official action on that.
I recommend approval. It is a requirement that we pass a resolution. The attached ICAP is behind the resolution. The deadline for submission is August 18th.
Okay, thank you, Brent. I would move that we approve resolution number 2023-29, adopting our ICIP for 2024 to 2028. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Mascareñas. Madam Clerk, please call the vote.
Commissioner Romero?
Yes.
Commissioner Vehil?
Yes.
Commissioner Mascareñas?
Yes.
Vice Chair Romero?
Yes.
Chair Brush?
Yes. Okay, resolution 2023-29 passes. Okay, 12B is discussion, consideration, and decision regarding the approval of resolution number 2023-31, a resolution suspending the $5 minimum penalty on delinquent property taxes and imposing the statutory civil penalty for tax year 2023. Do we have our Madam Treasurer with us today, Paula Santisteban, to present this? We'll give her a moment
I
to.
did text her, so I'm not
Okay.
sure.
We'll just give it a moment for her to join us. I know it's hard to predict when those public hearings are going to end.
If you'd like to move on to C in the interim, I could do that.
Okay, let's move on. We will hold off on B for the moment. We will move on to 12C, discussion, consideration, and decision regarding the approval of resolution number 2023-32, a resolution of the governing body of the County of Taos authorizing the donation of the Filemon Sanchez Park to the town of Taos. Mr. Trujillo.
Yeah, Madam Chair, we're in the process of submitting an application to the Board of Finance for approval of this donation. The application is due the 22nd of August. One of the criteria in the application for approval is that the board has, I've used this word once before, blessed this donation, has approved this donation. You can do that in the form of minutes or in the form of a resolution. I found that resolutions are easier to read. So that's why we went ahead and drafted this. So if you recall, the substance of this is related to the county donating this park to the town of Taos. If this is just one step, the next, we still need to do a donation agreement. We still need to get approval from the Board of Finance. There needs to be a deed that's done. This is just one step in the process of the application.
Thank you, Mr. Trujillo. And just one quick clarifying question is, there would be minutes reflecting the board's action from last year to this effect?
Yes, there would. And if we want, we could pull those up. The Board of Finance might think they're stale in a way, but I suppose we could do that in a way if you guys want to table this or don't want to pass the resolution.
Okay, well, I think you just answered my question.
Yeah.
What's your question? And that is that it's basically stale.
I don't recall, Madam Chair, I don't recall exactly what happened last year. This, it's important because I know this was talked about as an exchange.
No, it was not.
This isn't an exchange, this is a donation.
This is not an exchange.
Well, then we can pull those minutes up and submit those if you'd like.
Yeah, the question of staleness is interesting to me because like I would not lightly just say, hey, like, you know, a couple of different people made a decision 8 months ago and now we're different. So like, I just don't know how.
Oh, wait, the commission was comprised of a different commission.
Yes.
I think it'd be better if we had this
Okay,
resolution.
okay.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I forgot.
That you've answered my question about why we need to do this when there was a decision made by the commission.
I'm just curious if the other commissioners feel like we need to go into executive session. Is there more discussion that needs to be had? And I only say that because obviously Commissioner Brush and I, Chair Brush and I, were the only two that still exist. And I don't know if there's any questions in your, you know, I just want to make sure that everyone's comfortable.
Yeah, Madam Chair, I think that we need to pass the resolution in order to move forward.
Is that a motion, Vice Chair Romero?
That's a motion.
That's a motion to approve Resolution 2023-32, a resolution authorizing the donation of film on Sanchez Park. Is there a second? I will second it. Madam Clerk, please call for the vote.
Commissioner Romero?
Yes.
Commissioner Vehil?
Yes.
Commissioner Mascareñas?
Abstain.
Vice Chair Romero?
Yes.
Chair Brush?
Yes. Okay, so we have passed, thank you, Mr. Trujillo. We have passed Resolution 2023-32. Are we ready to pop back up to item B or keep moving on? Okay, item 12D, discussion on proposed water rights resolution requesting the state of New Mexico provide funding to the Office of the State Engineer to compensate Cuesta and the surrounding communities regarding the retirement of the Chevron Cuesta mine water rights. Absolutely, Commissioner Vehil.
So I will start off because if you will recall, commissioners, I mentioned the visit that we took to Chevron, and there was much discussion on the remediation and also concerns about the water rights. And obviously, we've all, I should say, maybe it's not obvious, but anyone that's following anything regarding water, and in particular water leaving Taos, that we should be concerned. And so I had mentioned that we should consider a resolution in regards to supporting that the water stay here in Taos, or do whatever we need to do to assure that that water remains here in Taos. So with that being said, certainly open to any questions.
Absolutely, thank you. And again, reminder, this is discussion only for this resolution. So are there any questions about the draft resolution? Vice Chair Romero?
Madam Chair, yeah, it's, as I understand it, is a draft resolution still to be discussed and considered. The question that I did have is, I didn't understand the part about the funding or proposed funding that could go to the state engineer's office and then to the village of Cuesta. I'm not sure how that would work.
Chair Brush, Commissioner Romero, I'm not quite certain how that would work also. There's just one of their proposals is that the stale water rights, that maybe there would be a mechanism that that the community, the northern Taos County would not lose those water rights, and that if those water rights could be purchased by the state of New Mexico, that money could also go back into the various different communities in the northern part of the county, as well as benefit the mutual domestics.
Thank you, Brent. And thank you for the question, Vice Chair.
So if I may, I'm not sure if this is going to muddy it or help, but obviously, because those water rights are being discussed, they might determine that they didn't meet that beneficial use.
Right.
And so what we're saying is if they determine that, we still want the opportunity to hold on to those water rights, and hence where that funding is very necessary. Is that, am I saying that correctly?
No, I think you're saying it correct. So I think there's a proposal to try to give the state a mechanism to do something with the water rights that are in question.
Okay.
Because
Vice Chair
this
Romero?
is, like the commission already stated, it's a draft resolution, something that we're not looking to pass. So we didn't have anybody available that could come in and help explain the resolution today, but maybe at another meeting, we can.
Vice Chair Romero?
Madam Chair, I like the intent, I think the intent of the resolution is to get these water rights to the mutual domestics under the Beta settlement. And then Cuesta was not a party to the Beta settlement, so it's kind of a little bit different, but also would be nice to be able to assist in the village of Cuesta getting those water rights. But it is a complicated process. I mean, just a lot of issues that come into it. I'm on the advisory of the Rancho Water and Sanitation District Board, and we've been in the process of transferring or making efforts to get water rights transferred for the past 7-8 years, and we're still not there. So it's a long haul, and I think this one is too. It has a lot of complicated parts to it, a lot of intricacies, but I think that the intent of the resolution will be good. I think we just need to work on the language and
Thank you,
fine
Vice.
tune it.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Commissioner Vehil?
I just want to say thank you to Commissioner Romero. He is right. We all know it's very complex, but the message here, and like you said, the intent is great. The message here is that we want to certainly support our community and keeping those water rights here. Now, I know that we don't probably have the right people in the room to answer some of the questions, but Mr. Jaramillo, I would certainly welcome another meeting or that it come forward in another commission meeting. And certainly at some point, our attorneys, obviously for wording to make sure that we're not going to say something we shouldn't say. But nonetheless, I do want to proceed and ask the commission consider.
Okay. Any further questions or comments on this resolution? Okay. Thank you, everyone. Brent, can we go back to 12B or do we need to?
Let's go back to 12B.
Okay. And again, this is regarding approval of Resolution 2023-31 to suspend the $5 minimum penalty on delinquent property taxes and impose the statutory civil penalty.
What I can tell the commission, this resolution has been passed for the last several years. This is regarding delinquent property to suspend that $5 fee. If we don't collect the $5 minimum penalty, then that doesn't have to go to the state property and tax division. So it's easier to waive the fee versus, as an example, the treasurer's office and as well as the assessor's different context deal with a lot of the properties on the west side of the county. And if you're imposing this $5 fee on them, it makes it a little bit more complicated.
Understood. Thank you, Brent.
And I will add that this is certainly standard, and since I can recall myself, it's just something that we've done. It's routine. Yeah. So I would like to make a motion to approve.
I will second that. So we have a motion and a second to approve Resolution 2023-31 to suspend the $5 minimum penalty on delinquent property taxes and impose the statutory civil penalty. Madam Clerk, would you please call for the vote?
Commissioner Romero?
Yes.
Commissioner Vehil?
Yes.
Commissioner Mascareñas?
Yes.
Vice Chair Romero?
Yes.
Chair Brush?
Yes, thank you. The resolution passes. This takes us to agenda area 13, which is our consent agenda. Commissioners, is there anything from items A through D that you might want to pull for question? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda items A through D as presented.
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you both. Madam Clerk, please call for the vote.
Commissioner Romero,
Yes.
Commissioner Vehil,
Yes, I'm sorry.
Commissioner Mascareñas,
Yes.
Vice Chair Romero,
Yes.
Chair Brush.
Yes. Okay, consent agenda is approved. This takes us to item 14 on our agenda, our county manager's report and matters.
Thank you. I'll run through it real quickly. Last week, we did attend the opioid response network. Taos County is one of 6 counties invited to attend the summit. We've been asked to become a part of the opioid response network. The network provides free educational resources and training related to prevention, treatment, and recovery of opioid use disorder. If you guys get a chance on Netflix, there's that painkiller thing regarding OxyContin. I've started watching that miniseries, so take a look at that if you can. You should be receiving in your email, if you haven't got it already, Taos County Economic Development Summit. This is a leadership convening to discuss and share the pressing economic development needs, challenges, opportunities facing the communities in Taos County. This summit is an outcome of conversations related to the work of Raul Hurtado from the Rural Partners Network. This is slotted for September 14th at 3 p.m. at the Sagebrush. So we're inviting all the municipalities, key partners such as Kit Carson as an example. Sometime today you'll be seeing another invitation for the community schools. This will be sent out on behalf of the Taos County Board of County Commissioners. Would like to have a conversation with our school districts and community leaders about community school model in our county. This model is focused on the whole student and his or her family and the factors that might affect how the student is able to show up and learn. Community schools have an integrated focus on academics, health, and social services, community engagement, and development, and they're open to everyone. We want to have that meeting here on September 5th from 1 to 3 p.m. I've been asked to submit 2 letters of support. One was for the North Central Regional Transit District, the Blue Bus for our renewable energy systems, as they transition their buses to more on the electrical side. This is for the Taos and Espanola locations. The next letter was requested by Enchanted Circle Trails Association for New Mexico Economic Development Department Outdoor Recreation Division grant. This letter of support is for hand tools for trails development for the Enchanted Circle Trails Association. We received word yesterday that at Penasco Community Center will be hosting the land grant committee. We've provided copies of the agenda. As you can see from the agenda, J.R. Logan, it will be set to speak. So we'll be speaking about our projects. So we could go up there. We'll post a notice of quorum as well. Then also, the last topic I have is a prioritization exercise. I would like to circle back on the prioritization exercise that we did in the commission meeting of August 1st. If practical, I would like to have the retreat on September 5th after the commission meeting or in conjunction with the commission meeting September 5th. But this would be prior to the community schools meeting, so we would have to have a simple agenda, but we want to go back to that priorities exercise that we did. And I stand for any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Jaramillo, and I do agree that going back to that prioritization exercise is a good idea. Commissioners, any questions on what Brent reported to us? No? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Jaramillo. Appreciate it. So this takes us to item 15, Commissioners' Reports and Matters. Item 15A is new business to be considered at a future commission meeting. No. Okay, hearing nothing right now. Item 15B, Commissioners' announcements.
I would just like to, yes, just to ask our county manager to see if we can get this on our website. This is the 100% community survey. And it is for Taos County residents, questions regarding access to quality basic family services. The survey is open. I'm not sure the deadline, but I do have the digital email that I can send out. Okay. And I'll find out the deadline on
We'll
that.
work to see if we can get it, work with Gizmo to see if we can do that.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioners, any further announcements? No? Okay, then item 15C is board or committee reports. New Mexico counties.
I'm going to ask that I'm going to table this. There was a lot of information, and I really didn't have time to be a little bit more thoughtful in presenting, so if I could just go ahead and bypass it at this time.
We'll look forward to that report next time. And while Commissioner Vihil was in Carlsbad at the New Mexico County's board meeting, I sat in as the alternate on the Taos County Cooperative Weed Management Board, which is always a fascinating one. And a little bit scary sometimes too. The big topics of conversation were state funding opportunities, state grants that might help with noxious weed, invasive weed abatement. And also then there was discussion around how to put in place a noxious weed management coordinator and what that position would look like, full-time, year-round, who funds it. So that conversation continues. I know Commissioner Vihil, you've brought that to our attention before. So, okay, this takes us then to item 16 on our agenda. Yes,
I had a
Commissioner
report
Romero.
also.
Oh,
I did this past weekend attend the Water Leadership Institute that was held at UNM Taos. And it was very well attended. We had the two water and sanitation districts, El Prado and Del Valle. We had about 12 different mutual domestics, included the ones at Ranchos, Talpa, Llano Quemado, and Ranchos, and outlying mutual domestics in the county like Tres Piedras, El Salto, Arroz Seco, San Cristobal. And the focus of the institute was to build sustainability within the water systems, and discussions in terms of how they can work together. Examples would be sharing water operators, sharing equipment, communicating about their issues, whether they're water rights or just management, water management of their system. And so it was very good. Other side issues came up, like the county and municipalities do have or can do ordinances to require new homes to hook up to public water and sewer. And Santa Fe, City of Santa Fe has done it. Apparently no county, at least to anybody's knowledge, has done that, but we do have that. And there are issues out there where sewer lines exist, but new homes not necessarily being connected, and they're still going with septic systems and whatnot. So it's an issue that may come up later for us, but in terms of the Institute, it's a continuing discussion on how we can promote sustainability throughout the county for water systems.
thank you, Vice Chair Romero, and thank you for putting the time into those conversations. Commissioner Vihil.
Yes, I failed to mention, but quickly I will want to let you all know that Kendall Chavez from the governor's office, who is the actually food and hunger coordinator, she will be coming to Taos to talk to some of the stakeholders at the municipal schools in regards to Senate Bill 4, which is Healthy Universal School Meals, and how our schools can tap into that. And so I've coordinated a meeting on the August 24th, and I think I need to do some outreach to our Penasco and Cuesta schools, but just wanted to give you a heads up that conversation will be happening.
Thank you, Commissioner Vihil. Okay, then now this takes us to item 16 on our agenda. The Taos County Board of Commissioners may convene in closed session. Just 16A is discussion regarding potential purchase of property. This matter may be discussed in executive session under Open Meetings Act exemption 10-15-1H8, which allows for discussion of the purchase, acquisition, or disposal of real property or water rights by the public body. Commissioners, can we have a motion to convene in executive session?
Madam Chair, motion to go into executive session at 12 o'clock.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Miguel. Madam Clerk, please call for the vote.
Commissioner Romero? Commissioner Vehil?
Yes.
Commissioner Mascareñas?
Yes.
Vice Chair Romero?
Yes.
Chair Brush?
Yes. Okay. We are going into closed session at 12 o'clock, as Vice Chair said, and we will be back once that business is concluded. Thank you.